Welcome back to the Wise Chronicles. We spend our entire lives building an empire, sacrificing our own peace to ensure our family has a safety net. We nurture our children and trust our spouses, believing that our loyalty will be returned. But what happens when the family you built your empire for decides you have lived past your expiration date? What do you do when your own flesh and blood plots to erase your identity, steal your fortune, and lock you away? Today's story is a breathtaking, pulse-pounding masterclass in absolute, undeniable legal warfare. It is the story of a brilliant woman who caught her family digging her grave, and instead of crying, she pushed them inside and buried them under the full weight of the law. If you believe that greed and betrayal deserve to be met with ruthless, flawless justice, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss the unbelievable true stories we share here on the Wise Chronicles. Now, let's go back to the moment I hung up the phone, wiped the flour from my hands, and prepared for war. My marriage to Reginald had been emotionally dead for a decade. He was a charming, handsome man who loved spending the money I earned, playing golf, and pretending to be a successful investor. Our son, Kendrick, unfortunately took after his father. Despite my best efforts to instill discipline, Kendrick was constantly searching for shortcuts. He had a gambling problem, an entitlement complex, and a terrifying habit of associating with very dangerous people. I had bailed him out of trouble more times than I could count, but a year ago, I finally cut him off. I told him the Bank of Bernardine was permanently closed. The room was dark, illuminated only by the glow of dozens of high-definition monitors. Marcus typed a command into the keyboard, bringing up the live, hidden security feed from the living room of the presidential suite. My blood turned to absolute ice. Sitting on the expensive leather sofa was Reginald. Pacing nervously back and forth across the Persian rug was my son, Kendrick. Sitting in an armchair was a man I immediately recognized from my days at the courthouse. Elias Thorne, a notoriously corrupt, sleazy notary public who had narrowly escaped federal indictment 3 times. And sitting across from them was the imposter. She was an older actress. She was wearing my exact custom-tailored camel hair coat. Pinned to her lapel was my grandmother's antique diamond brooch, a priceless family heirloom Reginald must have stolen from my jewelry box. Marcus engaged the room's active audio feed. The sound was crystal clear. Just sign the damn papers exactly how we practiced, Kendrick snapped, pointing a trembling finger at the actress. The guys in Atlanta are breathing down my neck. If I don't wire them $3 million by Monday, they are going to break both of my legs. Calm down, Kendrick, Reginald said smoothly, sipping a glass of expensive scotch. Elias has the documents ready. Once she signs the medical power of attorney and the asset transfer, Elias stamps them. We submit them to the judge on Monday morning. Bernardine is legally declared mentally incompetent due to early onset dementia. I become her legal conservator. I transfer the estate to you. You pay off the syndicate, and we put the old bat in a nice, quiet facility in the mountains where she can't bother us anymore. I stood in the dark security room, staring at the monitors. My own son owed millions to a violent Atlanta crime syndicate. To save his own skin, he had conspired with my husband of 35 years to forge medical documents, declare me insane, steal my entire multi-million-dollar fortune, and lock me in a psychiatric facility for the rest of my life. Marcus looked at me, his eyes wide with horror. Ms. Bernardine, should I call the police? No, I whispered, a dark, terrifying smile spreading across my face. The police are too slow. Lock the doors, Marcus. Override the suite's electronic locks. Nobody gets out. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard. A green light flashed on the screen. The heavy mahogany doors of the presidential suite were now digitally sealed from the outside. Now, I instructed, crossing my arms, shut off the air conditioning in that suite. Turn the heat up to 90 degrees. Let's make them sweat. For the next 20 minutes, I stood in the security room and watched the rats in the cage begin to panic. The temperature in the luxury suite rapidly climbed. Reginald took off his expensive suit jacket, wiping sweat from his forehead. Kendrick furiously yanked on the door handle, realizing it was completely jammed. He tried the hotel phone, but Marcus had disconnected the line. They were entirely, utterly trapped in a soundproof box on the 50th floor. Then, tapping into my old network of investigators, I pulled out my cell phone and used a secure, untraceable software to spoof a text message. I sent it simultaneously to Reginald, Kendrick, and Elias. In the security video, all three men pulled their phones from their pockets at the exact same second. The text message read, Department of Justice Fraud Alert. An active federal investigation has been triggered regarding the unauthorized transfer of assets belonging to Bernardine Vance. Do not leave your current location. Agents have been dispatched. Total, absolute chaos broke out. Elias Thorne dropped his briefcase on the floor, his face turning the color of chalk. You idiots, Elias screamed, grabbing Reginald by the collar. You told me she was at the lake. The feds are onto us. I'm not going to federal prison for you. Kendrick dropped to his knees, literally hyperventilating, realizing that if the feds seized the money, the Atlanta syndicate was going to kill him. Reginald was frantically trying to pry the heavy double doors open with his bare hands. The actress in my coat was sobbing hysterically in the corner. It was time. I thanked Marcus, stepped onto the private elevator, and rode it up to the 50th floor. I flagged down a room service waiter in the hallway, tipped him a $100 bill, and took his rolling cart. I placed my tablet on the cart, connected it to the suite's smart TV via Bluetooth, and turned on my camera. Marcus remotely unlocked the door. I pushed the room service cart into the entryway of the suite. Reginald, Kendrick, and Elias spun around, panting and sweating. But before they could even process my presence, the massive 70-inch flat-screen TV on the wall crackled to life. My face, cold and unforgiving, was projected across the entire room. "Good afternoon, gentlemen," I said, stepping fully into the room, dressed in a sharp black tailored pantsuit. "I hear we are having a little trouble with the paperwork." Kendrick staggered backward, tripping over a coffee table and crashing to the floor. Reginald's jaw physically dropped open. He looked like a man who had just stepped on a landmine. "Bernardine." Reginald choked out, raising his hands defensively. "We can explain. It's not what it looks like." "Shut up, Reginald," I commanded, my voice cracking like a whip. I didn't look at him. I turned my absolute, terrifying focus to the corrupt notary, Elias Thorne. In 2018, you narrowly avoided indictment for forging signatures on real estate deeds in the Carter case. The file was sealed, but I was the district attorney who sealed it. If you do not put those fake documents into the paper shredder in the corner of this room right now, I will personally unseal that file, hand this hotel security footage to the FBI, and ensure you spend the rest of your miserable life in a maximum security federal penitentiary. Do you understand me? Elias didn't hesitate, shaking like a leaf. He practically dove across the room, grabbed the fraudulent medical powers of attorney, and fed them directly into the shredder. I turned my gaze to my son, the boy I had carried, raised, and loved. He was staring at the floor, weeping. "You owe $3 million to the Atlanta syndicate, Kendrick," I said, my voice completely devoid of a mother's warmth. "Did you really think you could launder that kind of money through my estate without triggering a federal audit? Did you think you were smarter than me? You aren't getting a dime. I have already contacted my security team. They have notified the authorities in Atlanta. Your syndicate friends are currently being raided. You are going to prison, Kendrick, and I am not bailing you out." Reginald dropped to his knees on the Persian rug, tears streaming down his sweating face. "Bernardine, please, he's our son." They threatened him. I had to help him. "I love you. Please, forgive me. We can fix this." I walked over to the actress, who was frozen in absolute terror. I gently reached out, unpinned my grandmother's diamond brooch from her lapel, and slipped it into my pocket. Then I looked down at my husband of 35 years. "You clearly forgot how thorough I am, Reginald," I said softly, the silence in the room deafening. 35 years ago, before we got married, I made you sign a prenuptial agreement. You probably never read it. But Section 4, Paragraph B, contains a very specific bad faith clause. It states that in the event of documented financial fraud, attempted theft, or conspiracy committed by either party against the other, the offending party instantly forfeits all rights to marital assets, alimony, and shared properties. By bringing Elias into this room, you legally stripped yourself of absolutely everything. Right on cue, the doors to the presidential suite swung open again. 4 uniformed police officers, called directly by Marcus, walked into the room. They immediately arrested Kendrick and Elias for conspiracy to commit severe wire fraud, forgery, and identity theft. They handcuffed my son and dragged him out of the room. He didn't even look at me. The police didn't arrest Reginald because I wanted a different punishment for him. I wanted him to suffer. "Pack your bags, Reginald," I ordered, turning my back to him. "You have exactly 10 minutes before Marcus's security team physically throws you out onto the pavement. My lawyers will serve you with the divorce and eviction papers by morning. You are broke, you are homeless, and you are entirely alone." 10 minutes later, Reginald was standing in the magnificent marble lobby of the hotel, holding 2 cheap suitcases, sobbing as the automatic doors closed in his face. He had absolutely nothing. As for me, I didn't go back to the lake house that night. I stayed right there in the presidential suite. I ordered a bottle of their most expensive vintage champagne and a plate of fresh strawberries. I stood on the balcony, looking out over the glittering skyline of the city, feeling the cool evening breeze on my face. For 35 years, I had carried the massive, exhausting weight of ungrateful men on my shoulders. I had sacrificed my own peace to clean up their messes, but as I sipped my champagne, I realized they hadn't broken me. They had simply handed me the keys to my own freedom. The next morning, I called my travel agent. I booked a first-class one-way ticket to Tuscany, Italy. I decided it was time to stop being a savior for a toxic family and start being the architect of my own absolute happiness. We are often told that family is everything, that we must endure their flaws and forgive their trespasses. But when family turns into a parasite, feeding off your hard work and plotting your demise, forgiveness is not a virtue. It is a death sentence. When they try to dig a grave for you, you don't ask them why. You simply take the shovel, bury their plans, and walk away clean. What would you have done if you saw your husband and son plotting to lock you in a psychiatric facility? Would you have called the police immediately, or would you have locked them in a hot room and watched them sweat like I did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If this story of the ultimate legal takedown, brilliant strategy, and absolute karmic justice made you cheer, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who might need a reminder of their own undeniable power. And be sure to subscribe to the Wise Chronicles for more incredible, true stories of survival, absolute justice, and rewriting your own ending. Thank you so much for listening. Always protect your empire, and I will see you in the next one.